we could stop thinking about failure and expectations and instead try to...
No pressure. Experimentation. Well, that's definitely experimental. Not worrying about expectations. Well, I'm very much worried about what people will say. So there's that. As always, I overdid it and this one was a difficult one, but let's start from the beginning. Short disclosure, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan and I've watched Peter Jackson's adaptation of Tolkien books countless times. I was always amazed by the dedication and care with which he managed to visualize this unique universe. When you watch behind the scenes of how the sets were built and put together, it's amazing that all of this was designed and built for a movie set, something that is meant to be temporary. One particular space especially captured my imagination, and this was Bilbo Baggins' private home called Baggend. It is a Hobbit house that I would like to focus on today. There's a great description in a book that captures the essence of that space perfectly, and I would like to read it for you out loud now. In a hole, in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty wet hole filled with ends of worms and oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. Reading this description and watching all of the movies made me wonder, what if Mr. Bilbo Baggins would one day decide to, move out of Baggend and instead come to me to design him a modern version of his house? He loves his house, of course, but he's looking for something more contemporary, with lots and lots of daylight. How would you approach designing a modern version of a hobbit house? What would a modern version of a hobbit house look like? Okay, now we have a brief. So let's start from analyzing his original house to see what works and not. Baggend was located on top of the hill with a huge tree above it. It had a series of rooms starting from the entrance to the reception, dining room, a bedroom, study, and as put in the book, the best rooms were all to the left-hand side going in, for these were the only ones to have windows, deep, set, round windows looking over his garden and meadows beyond, sloping down to the river. Deeper in the house we had all of the secondary options such as cellars, storage rooms and smoking room for entertainment. I really wanted to be faithful to the original idea. I put all of the rooms along the facade, made them more open and connected them with a wide corridor behind, just like the original Baggend did. On the plan, it looked quite promising. However, the moment I went to 3D for a quick checkup, I knew we had some problems. The moment I realized I had to start from scratch was when I noticed that my design starts to resemble a Teletubbies house. Yes, this Teletubbies house. If you don't know, it's a very disturbing kids show from my childhood. There was no other option than going back to the drawing board and start all over. And then this happened. This is it. This is it. You see, this is where I live and this is where I work. Every day I pass this seemingly irrelevant overpass that is actually everything that I was looking for. Instead of focusing the design on one side of the hill just like the original design does, we can just look at this overpass and then just do exactly what it does. This dynamic form that guides you underneath the ground then opens up on the other side, and this allows us to have a lot of daylight, good ventilation, and in general this more pleasant experience of living underground. And it's a perfect beginning to create a modern Hobbit house. So now let's look at the plans and how we organize everything underneath. we start from the location where we already have a nice grand tree. Instead of disconnecting from the tree by having it above the house, I decided to put it in the center. In this way, we are constantly reminded about our deep connection to this exact place. Around the tree, we could then build a perfect sphere dome. In this way, all of the necessary beams follow the exact same curvature, making it much easier to manufacture. When we have our tree trunk, we could then install a big round skylight that, thanks to its unique design, would allow for a natural movement of the tree. This is the moment where I was also considering a much simpler solution of having a glazed courtyard around the tree. However, since I've never seen a puncture skylight solution, I just decided to give it a try. Next, I took the theme of rounded openings that are so characteristic for a typical Hobbit house and played with them in a more abstract way. 3 big rounded halls create first entrance zone, then central space, and lastly, a big private courtyard. Interior is functioning as one big open area where circular rooms create different zones. Small cylinders at the entrance act as a bathroom and a closet space. They are then followed by much bigger cylinders designed as a kitchen space on one side and an office on the other, 2 of the most important rooms in a respected Hobbit house. When you pass those rooms, you end up in a contemporary open space floor plan with a dining space, bar area, lounge space and a fireplace. We must not forget that Mr. Bilbo Baggins was very fond of guests, and therefore I wanted to design a zone that could comfortably fit at least 14 dwarves and 1 wizard. You know, if they would like to meet and plan one of these great adventures they like to have. Okay, but now how to cook for such a big group of people? Do not worry, I have you covered. Kitchen is being naturally extended with a direct connection to a huge underground pantry full of wine, spices, jars and all possible supplies one could imagine. On the other side, underneath the office, I plan to have a proper cinema room, just an equivalent of a smoking room you could find in the original project. These 2 rooms are surrounded by private staircases that naturally guide you towards 4 comfortable bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, 1 on each side. These are more quiet spaces with diffuse light coming from above. I wanted to design a space where you would be reminded that you're underground, but at the same time you would not feel trapped. This is the reason why all of the bedrooms are connected with the exterior tunnel that leads you away from the house and straight to the private garden. This more or less summarizes our walk through the plans, and now let's have another look and see how it is to live in a modern Hobbit house designed by Architect Reflex channel. See you in the next one. Bye.